Today we're going to be talking about life coaching, executive coaching and the ability to make transformation and change.
Welcome to ProfileTree TV. We're coming to you today from the Innovation Factory on the Springfield Road, and we're very lucky to have Fiona Molloy in with us today, who is from FM Coaching. So I'm going to hand over to her and let her tell us a little bit about your background and your business, if you don't mind.
Okay. I set up FM Coaching in 2015. I had previously worked for 25 years in the community and voluntary sector. So I had a vast array of experience really in social enterprise development, helping community organisations, probably coaching groups even at that stage, even though I hadn't put the formal qualifications on it. And then in 2015, I just came across a lady who was promoting coaching as a career. And the more I heard about it, the more I thought, well, I think this is probably what I do already. And from there, I went ahead and got a diploma in coaching. It's an ILM Level 5 diploma. Through that, you're able to get accreditation through the Association for Coaching, and became an executive coach and also a life coach. So really, I sort of feel that was probably my vocation all along, and I'm doing what I love doing.
That's brilliant, and it's amazing to see that it is a skill that you identified that you had all along, but maybe you just weren't formalising it or utilising it as much as you possibly could do.
Yes, I think to some extent, in order to be a good coach, you have to have a bit of life experience behind you. You know, that's my belief, and basically maybe even though I had these skills, maybe when I was in my 30s or whatever, just getting to this stage in life as probably helps me to help others, having been through a few life experiences myself.
And would you have always been interested in like people's thought process and why people do stuff, growing up, even as a child and as a teen?
Yes, definitely. I would say I had a very curious mind about people, an extreme curiosity in people, and really what motivates them, why they feel the way they feel, why they do the things they do. And I've always sort of pursued a line of questioning probably that I've now been able to put a formalised skill or structure on in terms of asking powerful questions, which is something that you have to do in the coaching process in order to elicit where people are at and what it is that they really need help with, what it is they really want for themselves, and how to help them really to get clear about what they want and what they feel their purpose is.
Yeah, and would you recommend coaching for anybody, or do you think it's something that you get to a certain stage or a certain level in business, and you think, oh, maybe I should do a bit of coaching, or a certain stage in your life, or do you think everybody can benefit from some coaching?
Well, I personally feel everybody can benefit from coaching. I personally would have a coach supervisor. It's something where you're always going to find the benefit if you're open to the benefit. I suppose I would say you have to be open to change, open to the fact that there might be something that you need to change somewhere in your life. If you feel a bit stuck, it can certainly help you, but again, you have to be open to the change. I'd say everybody can definitely benefit from coaching, whether it be life coaching or coaching in the work context, maybe career coaching, even if it's a specific situation like interview coaching, or if you were applying for jobs and you wanted to know what would suit you, you might want to sift your skills and then see what types of jobs would be appropriate for you. So that there's always a situation, or say a life transition even, in terms of life coaching, you might be looking at what's next for you. In all of those situations, I think coaching is appropriate.
Yeah, and you're right. And I think it's that concept of change can be very difficult for people. I think often people know they need to change or they want to change, but they don't know what direction to go in. So that's the sort of thing that you help people with.
It's true. I mean, I would say half the work is in creating clarity for the individual, because sometimes people, like you say, have an idea that change is needed, but they're not sure where or in what area of their life that change is needed, or how to go about change. And the process of coaching can sometimes create the space that's required for that kind of focused discussion, or the focus on the individual that they don't maybe get. I mean, sometimes people say to me, well, I wouldn't need that because I've got lots of friends to talk to. It's not the same having your friends where there's, for example, a dialogue and everybody maybe putting in their opinion or a wee bit of advice about what they think you should do. The process of coaching really is around a facilitated focus. There won't there won't be advice. I mean, if people come in and say to me, what do you think I should do? I would avoid giving advice altogether, because coaching assumes that the answers are really within the individual, and each individual is an expert in their own lives. I'm not the expert. I'm there to facilitate the answers that will come from within if I ask the right questions. And I suppose that's part of the skill that is what I have learned in this coach training.
Yeah, and you're right. It is those probing questions, because I know we've worked together ourselves, Fiona, and you are very good at just getting into those wee challenging questions that you always put to the back of your mind, I think, you know, and you know you have to answer them, but you say, oh no, I'll answer that on a different day. But I think bringing that element of challenge is very important.
Yes. Well, yes, I would say that the element of challenge, I would call it gentle challenge sometimes. And sometimes it can be quite direct. I mean, you have to obviously know who you're dealing with and have that original rapport built up with the individual. But sometimes the challenge is around assumptions that people are making themselves, that they don't realise that they're making those assumptions because, well, they're living with themselves on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes they might have a blind spot to their own assumptions, if you like, or their assumptions are unconscious to them. So the process of coaching brings to awareness those assumptions that are being made. And then if I bring those assumptions out and lay them on the table, then sometimes the individual can look at them again in a different way and say, really, I suppose, yeah, I was thinking that way. I didn't realise how much it was hindering me, or how much it was getting in my way, or maybe it wasn't serving my purpose or taking me to where I wanted to go.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. And you hear people saying about having mentors, and especially in business mentors. Is coaching different to mentoring?
Yeah, coaching is different to mentoring, although I would say sometimes you can cross over between coaching and mentoring with an individual depending on what it is they need from you. But coaching is definitely a more hands-off process in the sense that you're not giving direction in any respect, really. And you really are waiting and facilitating for the answers to come. I would say I can cross over easily enough between coaching and mentoring, because sometimes people do need signposting. So because I have a lot of knowledge and background really in the various sectors, and I have worked with both the private sector and the public sector, I can sometimes give a bit of mentoring where it's required. If people need signposted in a particular direction, or to go to a particular organisation, or to make a particular approach, so I can do that. But yes, the processes are different. I do also mentoring for I do free mentoring for women in business and for CO3, which is the third sector leaders organisation in Northern Ireland. And to that I can bring a lot, you know, because of my background. But I mean, I'm happy either coaching or mentoring, but I suppose coaching is what I'm passionate about, because I do firmly believe that I am not the expert, and I'm happy not to be the expert. So sometimes if somebody came into me in a coaching session and went, what do you think I should do? It kind of throws me, you know, and you really do have to throw that one back and say, what do you think you should do?
Yeah, I like that. I like that, the pushing it back. And it's about taking responsibility, because in order to change or to develop or to challenge yourself, you need to take that responsibility as well and actually address those issues, or else it's a one-sided process.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, Michelle, because I suppose what you're really doing is modelling the taking of responsibility. So I suppose you're trying to model, you know, what is this for you to, what does it mean for you to take responsibility for your own life, and what does it mean for you to be wholly accountable for the decisions that you're going to make here. And sometimes, you know, people come in and they want me to hold them accountable, and I will hold them accountable if they give me permission to hold them accountable. Sometimes they'll come in and say, oh, I haven't done my actions that you gave me the last time around, and think they're in trouble about that, you know. And it's not about me holding them accountable if they don't want to be accountable to me. But I think it's a very good question to ask, and it's a question that my coach asked me one time: how accountable do you want me to hold you?
And I love it. And accountability is so important, because I think especially in business, and especially, you know, we've small business leaders, leadership in business, yes, everybody does have accountability, but when you're the business owner, you've maybe a slightly more jaded view of that accountability. So I think it's very important. And in terms of business coaching, what would your typical sort of client be in terms of business coaching? Do you have a typical client, or can it just be anybody? Is it leaders, executives, small business owners, startups?
Well, it can be anybody. I mean, I'm accredited as an executive coach, so I can work with leaders, corporate leaders. I can work with staff. I mean, really, it's a very individual process. And I was just saying to one of your colleagues there, I don't feel that the process can be compartmentalised in such a way as that we will, if someone comes in with a business issue, that we will only focus on that business issue, because there will be many other aspects that are impacting on that business issue. So you have to look at the individual as a whole and how they're functioning and their impact on the business and the business impact on them. So really, it's a holistic intervention, if you like. And again, your ideal client in that respect is somebody who is really open to growing, open to the process of growing and changing and learning. It is very difficult and well, impossible really to coach anyone who doesn't want to be coached. If someone comes in and they're not open to change or willing to change, you would only get so far really, and then that would become apparent, and then you would have to just lay it out there and say, what do you want to do with this? Where would you like us to go? And throw it back to that individual.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it's the mindset, isn't it? The mindset has to be right, or else it's a pointless process or a very difficult process.
Yes.
And so, if somebody did come to you for some coaching, whether it be life coaching or business, what would they expect as an outcome or an objective or an end goal? I suppose again that's an individual, but what do people expect to get out of it?
Yeah. Sometimes I think people aren't sure what they're going to get out of it, but they just know they want something to change. And I suppose my hope for them is that they can see their role in that change, and that they can see that when they change, everything will change, and that they have the central role in the changes that need to be made. So sometimes people come in and say, well, this other person or this other situation is the issue. And I try to help them to see what they can do to shift or to change that situation, and that their role in changing the situation is central. Because as long as they think that the potential for change is outside of them, it will become very difficult for the change to take effect. But if they see that change can happen because of their actions, basically, that they're empowered to make the change, and I suppose that's my role, for them to see that if they take personal responsibility for that change, that the change is more likely to happen.
Yeah, and probably more meaningful as well, when you've actually made the change and you're the driving force behind it, with you as a facilitator. Yeah. It's probably much more meaningful, and you take it forward and you keep pushing forward.
Yes, I think when people realise their own power to make change and to create change, then they're more likely to take their own power and to create more change. So in that sense, coaching is not something that I expect an awful lot of repeat business in.
Yes.
Because I like to think that I equip individuals with the tools and the skills and the strategies that they need to make the change for themselves in the future.
Yeah.
So that, if I do my job right, then they won't necessarily have to come back for, unless there's particular life transitions or something they need a wee bit of help with. But it's creating a sort of a mindset for them, and then they know how to create change for themselves.
Yeah, and interesting, working for a mentor, free mentorship with women in business as well. Would you see your role in terms of women in business and actually helping and supporting them to really empower them? You see that as a big role and a big part of what you do?
I do. I mean, I love working with women, and women are often much more powerful than they give themselves credit for, and that's why I love the work. Because it's easy for me to see, as an outsider, the power of women. But sometimes women can be very much beset with self-doubt. And then I do enjoy, being able to knock all those doubts out of the way in the process of coaching, because they realise, as they come along and as we progress, that there actually is no substantiation whatsoever for a lot of these doubts that they have about themselves. And it can be built on maybe conditioning or just negative self-talk that they have got into the habit of being subject to. And, the gentle challenge along the way allows them to see that there's absolutely no need for that negative self-talk, because they've actually succeeded already in life and they've done so much, and they just need to apply those areas where they have succeeded to areas where they feel they need to build resilience.
Yeah.
So yes, I do love working with women.
And you've said a really important word there, resilience, because I'm hearing it everywhere. I'm hearing it in education, I'm hearing it in business, and it is such an important word. I mean, you would obviously work with people on building resilience. Do you have any top tips on how to build resilience? How to put you on the spot now? How to build resilience? How to, especially even, I think, for the younger generation, for children growing up, it's building that resilience, that they have it ingrained in them before they get to the situation where they're in a job and maybe aren't as resilient as they should be. Not to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
It really is a big one, In terms of resilience, there's a whole lot around trusting yourself in various situations that you can actually deal with it, and I think people don't give themselves, like I said about women there, they don't give themselves credit for the number of situations they've been in and coped and dealt with very well. So the brain has a kind of a negative bias in terms of singling out the situations in which we felt either embarrassed or ashamed, or where we feel we didn't perform at our best. And those things weigh more heavily on us than all of the situations that we did deal well with and that we were very happy with. But for some reason, the brain doesn't put as much store by those situations. So then we go back and sort of persecute ourselves for not doing as well in situations as we should have done. And that's what we remember. So I think the process of coaching will basically reflect on the successes and then bring to the fore the successes and methods and strategies really on how to prioritize those successes in our minds. So we'll be looking at negative thought patterns and what prompts you to think negatively and turning those around, looking at processes like building affirmations and about giving yourself credit where credit is due, about looking at situations that you bounced back easily in, and then building on those situations. I can do actually facilitated workshops in wellbeing and resilience, so that's something I'll be offering in the future as well.
Brilliant.
If anybody's interested in that.
Yeah, and I do think it's so important in today's society. Everybody's so busy and they're rushing around. It's as you say, it's that taking that moment for reflection.
Yeah.
And to actually reflect on what you did do well, what has gone well, those situations that you've dealt with without any of all this negativity around it.
Yeah. There's a lot of emphasis now and research done on the process of gratitude. I don't know if you're aware of this, but basically taking time to look at what you're actually grateful for in your own life and what you're actually grateful for in terms of your own experiences. And there's been substantial research done recently that suggests that gratitude and the practice of gratitude actually builds resilience.
Yeah.
So it's something that I've been practicing in my own life. I mean, people are advised to write down, say, 10 things a day that you're actually grateful for, and it does actually change your mindset. You can see it working. I don't know if that's something you've tried yourself.
Oh, no, I'm definitely going to try it. That sounds really, really interesting, because, as you say, it's just taking that time to actually have reflection, evaluation, and to breathe sometimes.
Yes, breathing is another.
Breathing's a good situation to be in.
This is something that you do so naturally, but if you do it consciously, if you actually like the practice of gratitude, if you do it consciously and you say, what was it today that I was very happy, I was very happy about today, rather than going, I mean, the negative thinking can be quite seductive and take you down a little rabbit hole of all the things that went wrong in the day. But if you get to the end of the day and you say, what was all the things I was grateful for today? It really does change your mindset. So I would recommend that.
I'll be trying that now. I definitely will. So, I mean, obviously you're very experienced in terms of, I know you've just set out on your own, but this is something that you've been doing throughout your life in different roles, and as you say, across lots of different sectors. Do you see a need for coaching in a specific sector, or again, it can be very generic, transferable?
No, I would say I wouldn't single out any particular sector. I think, there's more and more cross-sectoral partnership working going on, and I actually think that's the key to a stronger economy. The third sector is working with the public sector. We all need to understand one another's situations in each sector, and if personally think, if everybody had a sort of a growing mindset and a growing and learning mindset, particularly within organisations, it would help us to communicate better across the sectors. And then that would make for a stronger economy. So I think everything is actually linked. You just have to look at it, on various levels. I've been involved in a lot of facilitation of cross-sectoral partnership working, and I think it works best where people are open to growing and learning. So, in terms of organisations, hierarchical structures are completely outmoded now. So organisations need to understand that everybody has potential and something to give, and that you need to give people the opportunity to actually be able to say what it is their contribution is, and for that to be facilitated. It can be facilitated in a coaching situation as well. It can be facilitated in groups. But I think if organisations were open to that, it would definitely actually help the bottom line as well.
Yeah. No, you're right, and you're right. It's that communication is absolutely key. And you mentioned obviously group coaching. So how does that work?
Well, that can be interesting.
I was just thinking that myself.
Yeah. Well, again, you want people coming along to a group that are comfortable and that are open to change. And I suppose it depends on whether people know each other or don't know each other in a group. But I have been in group situations where, people are coming along because they're open to growth and change, and that's what they want. And they didn't know each other, and that can be interesting. And, what I would do there is I give a number of little exercises, where people can do in 2s or 3s and get to know each other. And then very, very quickly what you want to do is introduce some coaching concepts that they can try out on each other. Because I want people to understand that, this is not rocket science. This is communication at its best, and everybody should be growing these types of skills for themselves and for their workforce. For example, if a manager wanted to use coaching skills with his staff, for example, and just to use in everyday life. You can use coaching for even in parenting skills, for example. If you want to bring out the best in your children, we were talking about hierarchical structures there. Yourself. Parenting really doesn't work these days where you're actually telling children what to do and they have minds of their own, so you want to facilitate your children to feel empowered, to make their own decisions. So it's actually an approach you can use in your own home.
And as you say, once you have embraced those skills, those learnings, you can actually apply it to all aspects of your life. That's which right. is really interesting. It's not just I'm doing this for business, or I'm doing this for personal reasons, or I'm doing this for family reasons. It's actually it's a mindset. It's a mindset. It's amazing. No, really, really amazing. And say someone was looking for a coach, what sort of persons should they be looking for? What sort of skills would you say make somebody very good at what they do? Okay, well, there's a number of ways that you could look for a coach. There's obviously you could internet search. You can go onto the Association for Coaching website, and so on. But I suppose there are a lot of referrals also happen by word of mouth because somebody experiences a really good coach. And first and foremost, in a coach, you would want someone who would actually actively listen to you. Yeah. Listening skills is very, very important when you're a coach. You're not just listening to what somebody says. You're listening for the pauses in the conversation. You're looking at the language that they're using. You're looking at the tone that they're using. You're looking at maybe what you feel hasn't been said as well as what is being said. So acute sort of listening and observation skills. Obviously somebody who's really, really interested and curious about your life. Somebody who you can build a rapport with easily, who you trust. Obviously we're governed by Association for Coaching regulations, so there's regulations around confidentiality and so on, so you don't need to worry about those things. Someone who has a certain amount of humility and recognises that they're going to be learning with you. In my experience, it is a two-way process in the sense that I'm always learning from my clients. The day that I stop learning is the day I should stop paying a coach. In terms of the business, FM coaching, I am the centrepiece, and therefore I have to continue to grow and learn in the same way that I expect my clients to. So that's really what I'm selling. This is a way of life. Yeah. And you're right. This is something you're constantly working on. Yeah. And I suppose every client too is a new learning process, because you have to get to know the client, you have to get to know what they need, you need to help them get to where they need.
That's
so
right.
you're not just going to know people straight away. So
Yeah,
it's a learning process for you. So it must be a really interesting
yeah,
job.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's very much me.
Yeah, actually just really getting in to see, and would you often have people coming to you with a specific issue, but that's not the issue at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That happens quite often. The issue could be just an issue that's manifesting really in their everyday lives, and you know how it's impacting them or how they see it. But once you know you get some way into the conversation or into the session, you discover it could be just about how that person is thinking or an assumption that they're making that really isn't benefiting them at all. So I really would very much get down to quite quickly, is that way of thinking actually helping you? And this can be quite alien to people because they say, well, that's just what I think. And, you know, then you have to go down the route of, well, is that what you want to think? You actually can think differently if you decide to think differently. Yeah. And this is something that, you know, people aren't familiar with at all because they didn't realise that they could actually challenge their own thinking if they decided to, that they're actually in charge of their own thinking. And it's something sometimes people haven't thought of it in that way. Yeah. You know, but that can be life-changing because when people realise that they're in control of their own thinking, then they can decide what to think and what not to think.
And as you say, it just takes someone from the outside looking in with a different perspective to maybe be able to point that out.
Yeah. Yeah,
and it obviously has training. And so who do you offer your services to? You know, as you say, you've mentioned you do the one-on-one, you do the mentoring, you do the coaching, you're thinking about the well-being, health and well-being, and the workshops and group coaching as well. You know, who are the clients that you want to offer your services to?
Well, I'm really interested in women, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm currently engaged in a programme with Politics Plus at the Assembly, which is about encouraging women into politics and ensuring there's enough female voices really being heard. I'm interested in private organisations, really. I'm interested in leadership coaching. I'm interested in the public sector as well because I have some experience there. But I suppose my specialism is with the third sector as well, and charities and social enterprises. So, I mean, I'm interested in working with organisations across the board because I think, as I say, if there was more of a sort of a growing and learning sort of mindset with organisations as well as with people, that we could all, you know, communicate more effectively, work better together to make the economy stronger here.
Yeah. You're right, and it's just about working together and forming those relationships and forming those partnerships. So, Fiona, if someone did want to reach out to you, an organisation or an individual, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, they could have a look at the website, which is www.fmcoaching.co.uk, or they can give me a call. That's
brilliant, no worries at all. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been really, really interesting. I'm definitely going to try the gratitude. It's such an easy thing to do as well. So it's probably 2 minutes out of your day, but actually, as you say, it can really change your mindset. So I've learned something as well today, which is great. That's all from us today at ProfileTree, the content marketing agency, up in the Innovation Factory in the Springfield Road. It's been really, really interesting talking to Fiona, and we hope to see you all again soon.